For the longest time, the Gujarat innings, after having been put into bat, looked as if they were sputtering, swimming the wrong strokes, and almost going underwater. What happens when you go underwater? You just need to find some gills to rescue you and breathe some fresh air, get some runs on the board. And I don't think that went down very well. But anyway, Gujarat found one gill, which was good enough. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I'm not sure my panel appreciated that one. Harsha certainly didn't like it. Joy isn't. All right, gentlemen, over to you.
Oh dear, Gill. I'll tell you what. Let me just say that Gill's batting was a lot better than the description that preceded it just now. No, I loved watching. More seriously, I loved watching Gill bat. He makes batting look such a pleasure. Very simple. There's minimal movement. Early on, he played one pull through mid-wicket. Just early on, might have been Shardul. Just played one pull over mid-wicket. There's just such simplicity and such languidity in his stroke play. I absolutely enjoyed watching him. The sound that comes off the bat. And I think he's responsible for bringing Gujarat Titans up to 171. They need a dasher to bat alongside him. I mean, they made 105 in the back 10. But I'm not completely convinced they've got enough. My gut feel is it could be like that first game in which Mumbai looked like they'd batted very well and got to 170 and fell short. So that's my gut feel. I have a thought on Hardik Pandya as well, but I'll tell you that later.
Yeah, Joy, when you see Gill play like this, and we've seen glimpses of it when he was in purple, you wonder why he would play a stroke like he played in the game against Lucknow, because that was not him. We had a statistic, I think 2 seasons ago, where he had made the highest score in an IPL game, or one of the highest scores, without playing a false shot. And that is that's the Gill we know.
Yeah, absolutely. That 84 and 46, there are 2-3 other things. He played just 7 dot balls. I mean, that is an incredible percentage. Just 7 dot balls, and that tells you how busy he was. He just didn't allow people to settle. The second is, if you look around him, I mean, Miller got a strike rate of 133. Gill's strike rate is 182 plus. Okay, everyone else, Vijay Shankar 65, Hardik Pandya 114. Nobody else is close. The only guy who comes even within 50 points of him, not even 50 points of him, is David Miller. And what does that tell you? That tells you that this guy desperately needs support. This is a great innings. It's 170. It's a terrific performance thanks to what he's done. But with Gill doing what he did, this score should have been closer to 200 than 170.
Yeah, spot on. With 84 of 46, you'd expect with some hard hitters coming down, Hardik Pandya playing a different role, but he probably could be batting at 5, even 6. You'd imagine that have Gary Kirsten and company and Ashish Nehra would have some thinking to do, saying that we've got this right, but what have we done wrong?
I think they've got a couple of things they need to worry about. It's like a team that doesn't have a striker trying to get one of the midfielders to play like a striker. What do they call it in your language? What a false nine. False nine, yeah. Whatever they call it. Yeah, whatever they call it. But I don't have a striker. So as a result, what is happening is, who is the best ball striker in that Gujarat Titans side? You've got David Miller, you've got Hardik, you've got Rahul Tewatia, you've got Abhinav Manohar, and you've got Hardik Pandya. Who's the best player in that role is Hardik Pandya. But because you don't have a striker, you're doing the equivalent of getting him to play out of position at number 4. Now, I believe he wants to bat at number 4. But Hardik Pandya, 31 of 27, you take that every day if you're in the opposition. Because look what happens afterwards. Miller comes in and Tewatia comes in. They just play little innings. So I won't even mind if a Miller goes to bat at number 4, because Hardik Pandya at the back end is not going to play 20 or 15. He's going to get 20 of 9 or 10 or whatever, especially on such good surfaces. And so therefore, in the top first 10 overs, they've only got 66 runs. So even though they've got 105 in the back 10, which is actually very encouraging to the side that's chasing. The side that's chasing is saying, look, they got 105 in 10. This is a damn good wicket. I suspect they could be in trouble. They've got a very good bowling side, so they could wiggle out of this. But I suspect that first 10 over 66 is going to hurt them.
I think that's a perfect analogy. In fact, if you think of a team who've got a striker, he's playing in the midfield, not entering the opposition's penalty box. But I have a counter question for you, Harsha. When you did say that, why were you looking to the two of us and saying your language? Are you suggesting two Bengalis means we breathe football?
No. I just thought you probably follow football more than I do. I read a little bit about football, so I don't pretend to know. But you guys follow football probably a lot more than I do.
After
Okay, you maybe,
2006,
not Joy.
after 2006, Harsha, you have no right to say that anymore. You turned into an expert yourself. Joy, if you remember him hosting shows,
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
all the
absolutely.
homework that he
But you
did,
see-
and then
But you see, the analogy I gave you was the opposite one. I gave you the analogy of no strikers or playing midfielder there. What I should have told you was what you said, that there is a striker and you're pulling him back in midfield because there's no one to play in midfield and you're playing with strikers who are not as good. Every time I talk football, I get these, and I will not refer to which particular club I get most criticism from, saying you stick to your game, as if to say we own this game and you cannot enter our. Anyway, Chodo, I'm sounding like somebody else. It's okay. Let's talk about the fizz.
yes,
How good is the fizz?
I mean, right from the start, Joy, we discussed it a little on Cricbuzz Combox, but at the start of the innings, he provided them the breakthrough, as I told Harsha, with a little help from Matthew Wade. But the rest of his spell was not about getting a little help from the batsman. He was pretty much the fizz that we know.
No, absolutely. And 4 in the last over. I mean, that 4 runs and 2 wickets in the last over, that's a death blow to any team. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. That final kickoff, that could be the difference between 170 and 180, 185. I think he is superb because they're using him at the death. They put him in 1 over in the middle, and he bowled over 1, over 6, and I think after that he bowled over 20. And interesting how they're using him. Normally, you give a bowler like that 2 overs up front, but they don't. They give him that 1 over. They see what he's going to do out there. Then they bring him back as a shock weapon. I think they realize that he's their sort of, not their handyman, but the guy who's there to rescue any situation. Run rate going out of hand, bring him back. Final overs coming, bring him back. I think that's how they'll use him. And he's just so good at it. He's rediscovered the wrist position of his. He's back from injury. He's an absolutely superb pickup. I was really surprised at how little interest there was in him in the auction, given what a class player he is.
Yeah,
17 and 20 he bowled. He bowled 17 and 20. Gautam, what are they saying in Bangladesh today? Our boy.
Fatafati ball kar aise hai. But Harsha, I think the other aspect really
Fatafati is very good.
Yeah, Fatafati is good, and it's used across the board on both sides of the border. But I think if you remember the old Fizz, Harsha, the thing we would talk about him was a slight mystery that people didn't know, a bit like Sunil Narayan when he came on. Now that he's coming without that mystery element, but even though people may have figured out that side of it, more credit to him.
And on tracks where everyone else is traveling. So you look at the overs that he's gone. A 9 in over number 17, 4 runs in over number 20, right? And around him, there's been a 12-run over, a 10-run over, a 16-run over, 11 and 11, all around him while he was bowling those overs. Then if you go right at the top, he's conceded 7, but that was a period when they were going slow, so there's not much of a conclusion to be drawn there. But it's at the back end when a total of 180, 185 seemed on the cards that he's kept them down to 171.
And it just looks, if Delhi were to eke out a victory from here with what they've done in game number 1, which was sort of a get out of jail scenario, Joy, if you add a Nokia to this mix, they're already starting to look like another side with Rajasthan who are already having playoff aspirations.
Yeah, absolutely. I really rate this Delhi side. I rate this Delhi side simply because of how they managed to rebuild, given how many players they lost. This is a side that's lost so many players, it's not funny. I mean, the quality of players, people like Shreyas Iyer, losing Shreyas Iyer, Marcus Stoinis, Steve Smith, you've lost a raft of players and you've come back, Rabada, and you've won your first match. So I think this is a very well settled Delhi side. They're going to get only better than this. They are missing literally Nokia coming back. At this point in time, he steps right in, and they're playing with 3 foreigners, right? Still, I think they still played this match with 3 international.
Yeah. So you know what could happen? Yes, seriously, and you make a very valid point, Joy. Warner comes in for Seifert. Yeah. Powell plays because Mitch Marsh is not going to be available for a long time. So Warner comes in for Seifert. Powell plays, and then Fizz continues to play, and they can get Nokia. So Nokia can give a real burst at the top, and Nokia can come in for maybe a
Khalil.
Khalil. I mean, Khalil is bowled okay today. He bowled pretty well today, but you could get Nokia coming in for Khalil as well.
Or Shardul Thakur.
I mean,
Yeah, but Shardul also
the
extends your batting a little bit. Yeah, Shardul extends your batting a little bit. But if you can have Shardul as part of 6 bowlers and then have Rothman Powell going up to 5, and maybe he comes in place of Lalit Yadav too. That's the mix. But there's a possibility that Nokia, Fizz, and Warner can all play in the 11.
Yeah, looks ominous. But for now, we'll have to think only of the next 20 overs and can they chase these runs down. Let's assess the total in context of the Delhi batting. 171 is what Gujarat have put on the board. Could have been more, but at least the fact that they got there was all thanks to Shubman Gill, Harsha. With this Delhi batting, where do you stand at this stage without a ball having been bowled?
Yeah, let's quickly pull out their lineup for today. And look, Tim Seifert is on a free ticket. Just go and do what you want. The key will be what does Mandeep Singh do there? Because if Mandeep Singh can give them a nice innings in between, Prithvi Shaw gives them a start. Look, they're batting all the way down to Shardul Thakur, and it was Lalit Yadav and Akshar Patel who won it for them the other day. So they've got and we didn't see enough of Rothman Powell. If Rothman Powell gets going, then he's actually he's a refined version. Okay, refined is a bad word. He's a more finished version of Odin Smith, because he can hit the ball like that too. I'm telling you, it's going to be the year of these Caribbean hitters. So I think if Prithvi Shaw gets them off to a start, then I think this is very gettable.
And if required, Joy, Rothman can bowl a little bit as well.
No. I think, as I said, that mix of 6-7 bowlers, 7 batting up to 8, that's what makes Delhi so formidable this season. The only thing I find interesting is both these teams. I mean, if you were to ask that, what's the most critical batting position in even a T20 match or a limited overs match, it's probably number 3, because, early wicket comes in, you stabilize, you do what you want to. It's a reactive road. And their weakest links of both teams are at number 3. I mean, if you look at it, Vijay Shankar has not set the world on fire. Mandeep Singh is a great player. I have a lot of respect for him, but he really hasn't. IPL has not been the format in which he's done his best. So it's very interesting. A lot of pressure on Mandeep Singh. People like, Sarfraz Khan sitting out with that fantastic Yash Dole. Yeah. So Sarfraz Khan averages 77 in 23 first-class matches. Average of 77. Yash Dole in 3 matches, but average is 112 in first-class cricket. I mean, these are fantastic prospects, and both of them are sitting outside.
Add Srikar Bharat.
The one thing I will say, the one thing I will say for Gujarat Titans is if a team can defend 171, they've got Shami, Ferguson, Rashid, and if Hardik starts to bowl, but they've got 3 solid bowlers in that's 12 very good overs there. So if a team can defend 170, it's up to them. Aaron gets a bit of a fizz, Tewatia bowls a bit, Hardik bowls a bit, they could get there, but they've got 12 solid overs in there. And if Shami bowls anywhere near the kind of first spell he bowled the other day, then you want to just stop what you're doing and start drooling.
Well, you can also stop what you're doing and start drooling if at the other end, Prithvi Shaw gets going. He started with a boundary, so I think it's going to be a great contest out there between Delhi and Gujarat. Do they have enough on the board? Delhi look like it should be a chaseable total, but a good bowling lineup in the opposition. All to play for. 10th over Cricbuzz Combox is when we'll see you next. For now, from Harsha, Joy, and myself, that's all from Cricbuzz Live.